Alright, big generalization time. I feel like most tokusatsu fans know all the same shows. That's not to say all Toku fans like all the same shows, but it's safe to say they all know the big main ones. Every Toku fan that's been around long enough knows Ultraman, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Captain Ultra, Space Sheriff Gavin. Wait a minute. What the f is a Captain Ultra? You'd be forgiven for not having any clue what Captain Ultra is, even most diehard Toku fans can't put their finger on it. It's a show that was introduced in the late 60s at the dawn of these Toku shows, spearheaded by Eiji Tsuburaya and his company Tsuburaya Productions, with shows like Ultra Q and later Ultraman. Ultraman was especially a big hit. It was pretty much the first proper Toku show. While Ultra Q is technically the first, Ultraman became the quintessential Toku show, due in most part to its remarkable character Ultraman. Ultraman was a huge success and quickly became one of the most popular shows in Japan during the 60s. But when Ultraman came to an end in 1967, there was still a big demand for all things Ultra related. So what do you do when you need to sate the lust of a nation? You make a sequel, of course. Tsuburaya would begin production on their next show, Ultraseven, but they needed something to fill the air while they worked on it. Enter Captain Ultra, a series that only exists because Tsuburaya Productions needed a breather. Because Tsuburaya Productions was probably too busy making Ultraseven, they probably didn't have the manpower to form a B team to make a filler series, so that job was handed off to a different company, in this case, Toei.
NANI?!
Toei at the time was not the behemoth it is now, but that's not to say they didn't have anything going for them at the time. They had a handful of movies and shows under their belt around this time, but nothing that could have matched what Tsuburaya and other production companies were doing, so giving them a filler series was perfectly justifiable. I don't know how much of a coincidence it was, but 11 days before Captain Ultra aired, Toei released another Toko show, Akage Red Shadow. While it's possible they landed the chance to do a filler series because of their work due to the show, we will never know. But I personally like to think that the network was impressed with Red Shadow and they had Toei do Captain Ultra because of it. Because Captain Ultra was not created by Tsuburaya Productions, it technically doesn't count as part of the Ultra series. But the show was literally made to fill the gap between the two Ultra shows, so that's good enough for me. Captain Ultra takes place in the far-off future, where humanity has mastered space travel, but is always at odds with hostile aliens from across the galaxy. Mankind's ace is Captain Ultra, pilot of the 3-part ship Spiegel and all-around badass. Captain Ultra doesn't really have any depth or character trait besides Stone Cold Killing Machine, but he's the right kind of character for a show like this. All Captain Ultra really needs to be is likable and willing to jump into danger. Captain Ultra's co-pilots and most recurring sidekicks are the Alien Joe and Robot Huck. I have no idea what kind of alien Joe is supposed to be, and Huck is just a really funny dude. He's so lumbering and awkward, and it's any wonder how he's able to help Captain Ultra, but I can never hate him, he's pretty funny. And for some reason, according to IMDb, Joe is only in 12 out of the 24 episodes, which is odd because he's literally one of Captain Ultra's main buddies. Captain Ultra's cast is rounded out by the human crew of the Silver Space Station. The only one I'll mention is Kenji, the obligatory kid insert character that all these shows have. A lot of Toko shows have these kind of characters. These shows mostly have a child audience, even though these shows can get pretty violent. But unlike other kids in Toko shows, I'm looking at you, crying child from Kamen Rider, Kenji isn't annoying at all, and is a pretty fun addition to the show. And a kid never really feels out of place in a show like this. The show never gets too intense or grim to where a child would feel out of place. The tone of the show reminds me more of the swashbucklers of the 20s and 30s more than anything. There's a sense of fun here that most of these old Toko shows have that makes these things super fun and easy to watch. The plot of an episode may be about a bunch of aliens trying to kidnap humans for experiments or plotting to invade Earth, but Captain Ultra goes through it all with a playful smile that conveys that it's all really in good fun. It evokes all the endearing amusement the best Robin Hood and Zorro movies have. That isn't to say Captain Ultra isn't entirely without pathos. This show does have some serious moments, but they're mostly saved for the end after all the action, and I kinda prefer it that way. But like the swashbucklers of Robin Hood and Zorro, these moments touch upon the hero's willingness to defend humanity, and in Captain Ultra's case, the human spirit.
これからも未知の星から我々の想像を絶したような宇宙人がこの太陽系に攻めてくるに違いない。しかしここに眠る尊い犠牲者の霊に誓っても必ず奴らを撃退するんだ。
The sets, special effects, and music play a big part in the show's tone, and it's that great 60s stuff you don't get in shows nowadays. I say that because can you name a show that can get away with stuff like this and still be fun? There's nothing like Japanese shows and movies from the 60s and 70s. You can tell they were all stoked to have the capability for full color in their productions. Movies like Tokyo Drifter and shows like Ultraman took full advantage of this, with great colored lighting and lavish outfits. Captain Ultra has some of the craziest color palettes. We got baby blue suits, lime green aliens, all against a perfectly colored space horizon. The special effects I feel are almost on par with what Tsuburaya Productions was doing at the time. There's the usual giant monster effects and alien invader suits, but Captain Ultra features a lot of spaceship combat effects. While it may look hokey now, and if you looked hard enough you could probably see some of the wires, it all gives off the vibe the effects crew was having fun. There's a lot of ingenuity in these effects that you don't really see in mainstream productions anymore, even from Japan. While I don't hate modern CGI, it doesn't capture the Playhouse feel that movies like Evil Dead and Who Killed Captain Alex had. I bet you weren't expecting Who Killed Captain Alex to show up in a video about tokusatsu now, did ya?
Expect the unexpected!
It's fun to look at these old special effects and speculate how they came up with them. Like the zero gravity effect. It's clear that it's just some modified footage of someone on a trampoline, but it's fun to imagine how they came up with it and how they pulled it off. It may look a little goofy, but that's part of the intended charm of shows like these. The fight scenes are freaking nuts, but I love them. It's all impact, no fancy blocking or anything. Captain Ultra will just shoot a guy and they immediately blow up. The pace of these fights serve to complement the overall fast pace of the show. Captain Ultra is only a 25-minute show, but at times it feels like 15. Seeing as this is a filler series, it would make sense all the show really cares about is getting to the fun stuff. Unlike Ultra Q or Ultraman, shows that had some sort of build-up to its monster conflict, Captain Ultra gets right to the chase. The threat is established right away, and most of these episodes is usually just Captain Ultra killing every alien he sees. Now hopefully, I've been able to sell you on Captain Ultra, and you're using all your sticky fingers to type it into YouTube to watch right now. But I'm afraid it's time to address the elephant in the room. Only the first 2 episodes of Captain Ultra are available to watch. While certain physical media does exist for the show, it's all made for the Japanese market, and the series has never had any release beyond Japan, as far as I know. The only way to watch Captain Ultra is on the official Toei YouTube channel, which houses a lot of the other Toei tokusatsu shows. Links will be in the description. Fortunately, Captain Ultra wasn't the end for the talented people that worked on it. A handful of the writers and directors for Captain Ultra would go on to work on shows like Kamen Rider and Space Sheriff Gavin, some of Toei's biggest shows, some of which are still going on to this day. Captain Ultra himself, Hiroshi Nakata, appeared in many of the Showa-era Kamen Rider shows, and even had a main villain role as the Great Emperor Zero in Kamen Rider Amazon. His latest appearance in the franchise was in an episode of Kamen Rider Zero 1 in 2020, so it's good to know he's still kicking around and doing stuff. I know Captain Ultra will probably never see the stars again for a long time, but it would be nice for the series to come back in any capacity, whether it be a nice Blu-ray set, or even just the entire series getting put on YouTube. But until then, we have these little 2 episodes of a show that still hold up and is immensely entertaining.